All right, let's get into it. Everybody loves the idea of owning a business. Freedom, flexibility of hours, money rolling in while you sit and golf or hang out at the beach. But here's the truth. The hours are longer than you think. The stress is higher than you expect. And if you don't go in with eyes wide open, you'll burn out before you ever run out of cash. So, in this episode, I'm not trying to scare you away, but I'm trying to arm you with the truth. The truth will save you a lot of years of pain, tens of thousands of dollars, and maybe even your health. By the end, you'll have a clear picture of in real time the stress cost of running a business, the frameworks that I've built to tell you if this business is right for you or if the one you're looking at is right for you, and to determine, are you built to be a business owner? Not everyone is, because it's harder than you think. It takes more hours than you originally think, but that's only true at the beginning. The good news is it doesn't stay that way forever if you build the systems, the processes, and the procedures to build yourself or work yourself out of the business. So, a question I ask myself: everyone says business ownership or business owners get more freedom, but is that really true? As I mentioned, not really in the beginning. Most new owners think they're buying a 40-hour-a-week job or a business. In the reality, it's double that, double that. And here's my general rule of thumb. Take the seller's hours, whatever the seller says they're working, and double that for 1 year. Why? Because you don't know the ropes yet. You're learning the customers, you're getting to know the employees, their systems, their vendors, and you're patching holes that you didn't even know were there when you were in the due diligence phase. It's going to take you a while to get familiar with the business and to make it your own. And the reality is, just because the seller, let's say the seller, you're looking at a business and they work 20 hours a week, you need to plan on 40 hours a week. It's not going to be as easy as it is for the seller at the beginning. But that's the key. It's only true at the beginning. So think of buying a business like a used car. The seller tells you it runs smooth. You drive it off, and the first week the check engine light blinks. Now you're with the mechanic. So that's going to be what happens after you buy a business. Honestly, as good a due diligence as you can do, there's going to be things that come up. The key is you can fix all those things. It's just going to take some time, and in time, that will then be less time that you're putting into the business. So that brings me to a second question. If it's that intense, what separates people who thrive from people who quit in this process? How do I know if I can handle the stress of the ownership? And I'll tell you this: stress tolerance is one of the biggest predictors of success in business acquisitions. You can have all the money, the brains, the perfect buyer, or the perfect deal on paper, but if you crumble under pressure, your business will eat you alive. So you've got to be comfortable with the stress that a business owner is going to go through. The owner is the emotional shock absorber often. And when clients scream, when employee quits, or when the bank account dips, you can't panic. You have to absorb the hit, steady the ship, and keep everyone calm, let alone yourself, because you're in charge here. You're steering the ship. And so you've got to keep everyone moving in the right direction, rowing at the same pace and in the same direction. So, question is, if stress tolerance is key, why do some people still chase the idea of being a passive owner? Because let's face it, there's a bunch of online gurus who talk about how easy it is to buy a business as a side income. You can keep whatever day job you have or whatever lifestyle you have, and you just buy these businesses on the side that run themselves and make you a bunch of business while you sit on the beach. All you have to do is hire a manager, right? I'm not sure it's that easy in real life. They have an incentive to tell you that because they're selling a program. They're trying to make money off of selling you a concept that may or may not be totally in tune with reality. So, can you just hire a manager and sit on the beach and let them run the business? Sure, if you're buying a McDonald's for $3 million dollars with layers of systems that are already built and established. But in the small business world, passive ownership, honestly, it's a myth. It just doesn't exist at the beginning, and that's key. You can build it into a passive business, but it's not going to be a passive business the day you buy it. Every business has a center of gravity, the person everyone looks to when decisions get tough. And if you're the new owner, guess who that is? That's you. It's not going to be the manager who has no ownership, who has no vested interest, who has no equity in the business. That's going to be that ship leader that's going to take care of everything. So if you don't want to roll up your sleeves for at least the first 12 months, you're not buying a business, you're buying a problem. You're buying a future financial problem. Let's say you get an SBA loan. You personally guarantee that loan. You pledge your family's house as collateral. Do you really want to run and risk that business being run by a manager that has no equity stake in the business? Are they going to run that so well that they protect your family finances, your house that you just put up as collateral? And are they going to do a great job? Maybe not. Are you really willing to risk? That's where you need to put in the time at the beginning to build the systems, the processes, the procedures, build the culture, train the staff, get a level of confidence in all of them so that you can run it without having to be there all the time. So here's where the math comes in because you can actually calculate the time trade-off. How do I figure out if the time commitment is even worth it? Is a question that often comes up. So here's where you can use the time trade-off formula. So take your expected owner's earnings, what's referred to in the small business space as SDE, seller's discretionary earnings, divide by the real hours you'll work. That gives you the true hourly wage. Let me give you an example. If the business is making $200,000 SDE, seller's discretionary earnings, and you need to plan on working 70 hours a week again, at the beginning, your hourly wage is about $55 an hour. Not bad, but not great. But if you thought you could work and do the business in 35 hours, that same income feels like $110 an hour. That's a big difference. The key is you have to be willing to put in the time at the beginning, those 70 hours a week. It's not to say it always has to be 70 hours a week. Again, just double what the current seller is working. If the current seller is full time, then you need to be double full time. 15, 20 hours, then you need to plan on putting in full-time effort at the beginning until you can work your way out. And that, in theory, doubles your hourly wage once you spend the same amount of time that the seller is putting in. You just have to be realistic that it's going to take some time to do that. You're not going to be able to do that day one. And this leads me into one of the biggest blind spots. What your first year will actually look like post acquisition. So, what should you expect during this first year? Expect chaos. Honestly, there's no way around it. The first year is catch up and clean up phase. You're just catching up. You're learning the business. Unless you're already in the business and you're buying a second location and you know the industry inside and out, you got to catch up. And then, let's be honest again, most sellers, most small business owners are not great business owners. And so you have to clean up a lot of their sloppy processes, sloppy systems in place. That's why I call it the catch up, the cleanup phase, because it's going to take you a while to catch up, and then it's going to take you a while to clean it up and build the systems, the processes, the procedures, so you can take a step out of the day to day operations. Sellers always underestimate how much they do. So you're going to inherit their shortcuts, their messy vendor relationships, their unfinished projects. Think of your year one like moving into an old house. At first, it looks great. It looks exciting, like you see in the movies, but then you notice the squeaky floors, the leaky faucet, the peeling paint. Suddenly, your weekends disappear because you're now a full time handyman, or at least a part time handyman, trying to get everything caught up and get it up to standards where you can feel comfortable living there. And here's the danger. What happens if you underestimate this stress? That's why getting the stress test is important. The worst thing is if you can't handle the stress. I've seen collapse, buyers quit 6 months in. Honestly, marriages are strained, health is gone. Underestimating stress doesn't just hurt you, it hurts the business. Employees can tell, they can smell it, customers can, banks notice it. That's why I've built this simple framework called the ICE test. As you can tell, I like to put acronyms together, basic frameworks and tests. So the ICE test will help you determine if you're truly ready for ownership. ICE test stands for income, control, and energy. ICE. Will this business give you the income you need for your lifestyle? Control. Are you okay being the decision maker? You can't hide behind a boss anymore. You can't hide, at least I wouldn't recommend it, behind a manager at the beginning. One day you can get there, but at the beginning is not the time to rely on the manager to handle everything. And then finally, E for energy. Do you actually have the physical and emotional energy for the grind, for the hours that it's going to take? If you fail at any of those, that's when your business starts to get in trouble. And I'll tell you what, I've lived through burnout myself. I've seen it in clients. The lessons are unforgettable. You don't want to go through burnout having a bunch of debt and liability to the lender and not enjoy the business that you are looking at buying or one day hope to buy. So let me give you just a couple of stories here. A buyer thought a pizzeria shop was a 40-hour a week gig, and he was going to essentially buy a business, but he knew he was buying a job. 6 months later, he was making dough at 3 a.m., sleeping 4 hours a night, and begging me to sell the business that he bought 6 months ago for half of what he paid it for because he was totally burned out. Businesses don't burn people out. Misaligned expectations do. And that's where you get into trouble. He just didn't have a alignment of the expectations of what would happen in order to be able to step in and take position, let other people control and let someone else come in and make the dough, let someone else stay late and close up shop. He had a hard time with letting people have control of the business. He just didn't trust anyone. So there are some early warning signs of overload that you can be aware of. These are things you want to look for when, if you're looking at a business, you want to start getting a sense for, actually pause that. We'll take that out. So here's a simple exercise. For 30 days, track your stress moments daily. On a scale of 1 to 10, write down how stressed you feel, what caused it, and how you handled it. At the end, look at patterns. Do small things wreck your day? Do you bounce back quickly? This is your stress test. And if you can't manage stress in your current life, adding payroll, lawsuits, because it's going to happen as a small business owner, you're going to get in a lawsuit, customer meltdowns, they're not going to make you calmer. They're going to make things harder. You need to be able to know where your stress level tolerance is. So let's recap here. Double the seller's hours. If you're looking at a business and the seller says, oh, you know what, I really don't work that much, 20 or 30 hours, honestly, double it. That's going to be what you need to plan for. It's a reality check at the beginning. Again, it's only at the beginning. So if you have a full-time job and you are trying to then keep that full-time job, and by the time you double the other hours of buying this business, is that doable? You'll have to look at your own schedule and determine, can you make that work? So stress tolerance is the number one predicator of success here. You want to be able to think through that. Passive ownership in small businesses, honestly, I'm just being honest here with you guys, it's a myth. It just doesn't exist. If it's that passive, then why would the seller be selling it anyway? If they literally could run the business, they never come in, never do anything. They let the employees do everything. The money just pours in. Then why would they sell it? They're not going to sell it. It rarely comes up for truly passive businesses. So if a broker or a seller is trying to convince you that you're walking into a totally passive business, you need to be leery and do some deep due diligence because it doesn't come up very often. Does it come up? Yeah, sometimes it does. And I've sold passive businesses, but you have to have a really good reason why they're being sold. And if they're really truly passive and there's a good reason they're being sold, they're not being sold for zero money down. All these online gurus that are telling you can buy these passive businesses with zero money, that's just honestly, it's a disservice to people in the market because passive businesses, if they are sold, they're commanding top dollar. They're not selling this at cheap lowball prices and certainly not zero money down deals. Use the trade-off formula to measure your true hourly wage. You want to measure it at the beginning. What is it going to take for the first 6 months to a year in hourly wage? And then what does it look like once you scale back your hours? And are you happy with that hourly wage? Year one, as we talked about, is the cleanup mode. Clean up and catch up. So expect it. Don't be surprised by it. Just know post closing that you're going into that first year to catch up and to clean up. Understanding stress costs more than your money, or underestimating stress costs more than your money. So, the best way to do this is use the ICE test: income, control, and energy. And if you get into the point where you buy a business and you start to get burned out, there are things you can do to really start making sure that you scale back that burnout. One of the things you can do to really determine your stress level and what is stress markers for you is to do a 30-day stress tracking exercise before you buy. Know what are your trigger points for stress and build people and systems around that. That's where you want to focus on building, let other people handle the stressful parts, but you have to know it well enough to be able to train and manage those people. And doing that from day one, putting someone else in charge is likely not the right approach. So, if this episode hit home and helped you understand a little bit about the process of analyzing, are you the right business owner, then feel free to join my school community. I walk you through the exact playbook: how to find the right deals, run the numbers, get SBA financing, negotiate terms, and basically survive the first 100 days after closing. You'll also join a private community of other buyers sharing deals, wins, lessons in real time. You'll have all the tools and the resources right there. It's 100% free. There's no catch. I'm not like the online gurus that are trying to sell you a unrealistic idea of buying a business with zero money down that's going to be totally passive. I'm giving you real world examples from having closed over 600 transactions myself. Because the truth is, owning a business can either set you free or bury you in stress. The difference is how prepared you are. And that's what this community is all about. So, thanks. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.